So who knew that it would take a global pandemic to make me realize that I miss baseball? But yeah, what can you do? The main thing lacking, speaking of lacking, so summer's lacking with no baseball. The main thing lacking from the Vikings defense last year was that beastly penetrating, just get after a three tech that disrupts the running game and gets quick defensive interior pressure on the quarterback on passing downs. Yeah, I mean, Sheila Richardson was obviously that in 2018. Vikings didn't necessarily replace that in 2019. So what's going to happen this year? TBD. First off, defining three tech. So we get some questions about this in the comments every now and then. So three tech, aka three technique, also known as under tackle. It's the other base defensive tackle in a 4-3 besides the nose, and they're lined up on the outside shoulder of the guard, generally on the strong side of the formation. Now their responsibility, as pictured here, this is Tom Johnson. Their responsibility is to fire that B gap, get penetration, wreak havoc, and basically just be super disruptive. And that's the beauty of it, because you got one gap, just get in there and just do damage. It's great. So three techs. So Sheldon Richardson, Tom Johnson, of course pictured here, Sharif Floyd. Miss my guy. Aaron Donald with the Rams has been phenomenal. Geno Atkins in Cincinnati under Mike Zimmer, as well as John Randall primarily played three tech under tackle for the 90s Vikings. And yeah, with the Vikings potentially shifting to a 3-4, I mean, there will be less emphasis on the three tech, but will still be important, as the Vikings will probably play a lot of hybrid fronts in base, and four down defensive linemen, three tech still going to be very important there. So the Vikings, they didn't necessarily draft anyone that come in right away who's like, hey, this is going to be the guy. Boom. Or bringing anyone for agency as that true three tech. So Anthony Zettel signed from San Francisco. Now, he could kick inside, even though he's primarily been used as edge in the NFL. Dude was absolutely dynamic as a defensive tackle three tech in college. 38 tackles for loss, 20 sacks in 4 seasons at Penn State. Now, James Lynch, who I love, adore, 4th-round pick out of Baylor, he's the opposite of Zettel, where he was a college defensive end, may not have the quickness to be an every down edge rusher in the NFL, and everyone thinks that he could kick inside. I think he certainly could. And then Jamar Stefan was primarily used as the three tech last year on running downs. I mean, he's fine. He's called the big fundamental for a reason by Andre Patterson, but he's not a penetrator. He gets pretty much nil pass rush. Like he's okay against the run, but it's not anything that's going to move the needle necessarily. Now, Armon Watts, the 6th-round pick last year out of Arkansas, it's a dude we absolutely love. Disruptive AF, just never really got the time of day last year. You saw what he could do in that Dallas game, but 4 pressures, 1.5 sacks on only 53 pass rush reps last year. I mean, just get that guy more work. Just get good things happen when 96 is on the field. Plus, he led the team on interior pressures in the preseason with 8, including a sack on 58 snaps. Oh, speaking of preseason, because remember last year, before the season started, we're like, okay, don't need to worry about the defensive tier. Hercules Mata'afa and Jalen Holmes, they got it. So Herc, second-year man coming off that ACL, added weight, was up to 275, was good to go. Jalen Holmes, that 4th-round pick out of Ohio State, like, okay, he finally is going to pan out. And then not so much. Then regular season came, they couldn't get on the field. And then Zimmer and Patterson, it's almost like they do get a lot of credit, rightfully so, for using Weatherly and Afadi so effectively on the defensive interior last year in passing situations. But it was basically because they didn't trust any of the other defensive tackles. So it's sort of a, hey, we're just going to put DNs in on a regular basis as opposed to just an occasional NASCAR package and just do that up. So will it finally click this year for Herc? I mean, he is up to 289 as of last month. And, with the quarantine now, plus a Cinco de Mayo, everyone's going to be eating. So I don't know. Maybe he'll be up to 300, which would be a perfect weight for him as long as he has lost an ounce of quickness. As well as Jalen Holmes. I don't know. I just don't know. Sheila Johnson, speaking of mid-round disappointment. So Sheila Johnson, I thought was really intriguing coming out of Iowa, where he had 10 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks his final year in Iowa City in 2016. And the Vikings picked him up as a mid-round pick in 2017. And then they've sort of vacillated. They're like, is he a three tech? Is he a nose tackle? Is he sort of a hybrid like Jamar Stefan? I don't really know. Heading into his final year of his rookie deal, I don't know. It's been pretty underwhelming so far. So last, and this could be an intriguing option, Everson Griffin. In his first 4 years before becoming a full-time starter, so you had Jared Allen, you had Brian Robinson. Everson was just trying to fit in wherever he could. He actually played 718 of his 1,573 defensive snaps on the defensive interior. So defensive tackle, primarily 3-tech, played 45.65% of the time he actually got on the field. On defense was inside, and he was damn good at it too. So if Fadi is ready to start, and the Vikings do bring back Everson Griffin, could he be back in that 3-tech utility defensive lineman, wherever you need me, coach, a.k.a. late career Brian Robinson role? That would be perfect. I think that would be absolutely perfect. So even though the Vikings didn't necessarily snag a true blue 3-tech in free agency or the draft, I'm pretty comfortable with the room. And yeah, you do have the guys from last year like Jaleel and Jalen and Herc, which left you a little bit underwhelmed. Jamar Stefan thrown there as well. But everyone's a year better. And hopefully Armon Watts gets the time of day. I really like Anthony Zettel. I love James Lynch. Potentially Everson being back, playing primarily interior, super intriguing as well. So I'm hopeful. I'm a lot more hopeful than I was last year. And I was hopeful last year too, by the way, because I still believe in Herc and Jalen, then not so much. But hopefully things pan out at 3-tech this year for the Vikings. But your thoughts, let us know in the comments section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. If you want to support the work, pull us something in that Venmo. Plus give us a follow on social media as well. But until next time, Skull, production value.